I'd be lying to you guys if I said that I didn't have $200 on the line in my fantasy hockey matchup this upcoming week. Things are crazy in the hockey world right now, and a buddy of mine and myself made a bet before the fantasy season started. It was actually on draft night, and the bet was that I had to beat him in a fantasy matchup. And unfortunately, our first matchup, I did not beat him. So this is my final chance to beat him. And if I don't beat him, then he's going to be given $200, which, I mean, if I do win the league, that's going to go out of the league pot. So I'm hoping that I can beat him and get the $200. And hey, we'll see what I can do with that. Maybe it'll go towards something fun, something hockey related. But with that being said, we're going to get into today's video. It's already going to be week 16, which I can't believe it. It's already almost playoff time after the Olympics. So we're going to get into scheduling, strategies, ads, drops, all that stuff today. So make sure you guys are followed. We're already at 80 subscribers. Let's get to 100 subscribers. That's the goal before February. Now, you have two teams to really avoid this week. And unfortunately, those are two teams that are on heaters. You have Utah and you have Tampa Bay. So Utah has been extremely hot. Unfortunately, they're not as hot as Tampa, but that's fine. So Tampa Bay playing twice this week and Utah playing twice this week. Unfortunately, I've got Vejmelka, I've got Sergachev, I've got Gunther. It's a little tough for me, but I'm going to do everything I can to win my matchup. And you're going to want to hear some of these ads, some of these streams. You also have a lot of teams playing 3 times this week, including my Boston Bruins, who play Dallas, Vegas, and Montreal. So a couple of tough matchups. We're on a 6-game heater right now, but I could see us losing 2 of those 3 matchups. Probably beating the Habs because there's nothing crazy about Montreal. But let's get into some of our players and some of the updates. So you have a lot of weak goaltending right now in the NHL, which means you should not be desperate when it comes to making goalie ads during your week. So just because you're down in goalies, maybe you're down in wins, maybe you're down in saves or save percentage, don't feel like you need to make ads such as adding the Canucks goalie on a Saturday night against Edmonton or adding Levi Marilainen in a OT loss against Montreal, because these goalies are going to be out there. And so you really want to be steady with your goaltending. You want 2 or 3 goaltenders that are proven number 1. So personally for my team, I've got Sergei Bobrovsky, who's struggling. I've got Karel Vejmelka on the heater. I also have Darcy Kemper, who I just acquired in a trade. I did trade a 2nd rounder for him. I want to know if you guys think that's a little overpay. Maybe that's a good deal. Let me know what you think of Kemper, but I do think he is going to be getting a lot of great starts for LA as they make a playoff push. Now, with that playoff push talk being said, we do know that Artemi Panarin is now on the trade block for the New York Rangers. He won't be re-signing, and that brings up the question of where Panarin would go. I am going to give out a few teams I think are possible. I'm not going to bring up every team. I think that the New York Islanders would be smart to reach out and try, because they actually were really close to getting Panarin after he left Columbus. So for anyone that remembers, he was really close to going to Long Island. I don't know what happened, but there was a lot of rumors. It was close. Now, I don't know if he wants to stay in kind of the New York area and head to Brooklyn. I don't know if that's really what he wants, but the Washington Capitals are a team that really should target Artemi Panarin. And I mean, like, if the Capitals want to make a real playoff run, I don't see why you wouldn't go after Panarin, because you have such a good decor on the Caps right now. Jacob Chikrin is like a top 10 D-man in the league statistically right now. John Carlson's great as always. Martin Fayberry, a lot of great players on the team, but you kind of lack like that stud who's not Ovechkin, like on the wing. So that would be great. You add Panarin. He could play with a guy like I don't know. He could join any line. Panarin's flexible, but not saying he's going to really elevate a line if it's like with Ovi, but he definitely would help that power play out a little bit. We know that they used to have Kuznetsov, but if you're Ovechkin, you got to be calling Panarin. His fantasy value won't go up much, but that's okay. Now let's get into some of the ads for the week. So I'm going to be mentioning a few guys that play 4 times this week. A couple of guys that are on, call it heaters. So first off, the Jets are playing some good hockey. Tough loss to Toronto last night. They're a team with 4 games next week, and one of them is against the Chicago Blackhawks. Following that, you have the Blues and Florida and the Red Wings. So 4 teams that give up a decent amount of goals. You want to look into the Winnipeg Jets. Look into Jonathan Toews, who's playing some pretty good hockey. He's going to be available in your league. So if you want a guy, if you need a centerman one night, maybe you need some face-off wins, he's someone to look at. Another guy playing great hockey is Chandler Stevenson of the Seattle Kraken. He's just returned. He's on a heater, gets a lot of face-off wins, and he is, again, playing top minutes, playing top power play minutes. Now, we'll go on to Vegas, who is also on a six-game winning streak. Now, be careful with Vegas goaltending because you're going to get a mix of starts from Adin Hill and Akira Schmid. So if you see that guy like Schmid's available one night, you should add him. Same with Adin Hill. He'll actually, I want to almost say he's a league winner because of what he's doing. And to get into the unfortunate part of today, we have Matt Boldy on the IR, Joel Eriksson on the IR, and you also have Leon Draisaitl taking a leave of absence. So if these guys are off your roster for the week, unfortunately, there's no like real replacements for them. I'm not going to act like a guy on waivers is going to do what they've done. That being said, you're seeing production from a lot of depth guys in the league, and I was lucky enough to roster Vasily Podkolzin and Kasperi Kapanen last night. They both produced pretty well. So if you want to look into Edmonton and you can't add a guy like Zach Hyman, who's playing top line, maybe look into a guy like Kapanen or Roslovic or Podkolzin, despite the Oilers not playing their 5 games again this week. Let's go on to a player who I think is going to have a good week, and that it comes from Anaheim. Anaheim's in a great buy low spot. If you can roster anyone from Anaheim and try and get something out of them this week, it's a great time to do so. One being Cutter Gauthier, who has been cold of late, but we know has a great shot volume, great power play production, and not just score goals, but puts up points. So Cutter Gauthier should get something done this week. The Ducks play 4 times. They play the Rangers, the Avs, the Kraken, and the Flames. So a mix of teams, some good ones, some weak ones. And I'll end off today's video by going into a few goalie starts that I love this week. So if you're in a league where there's some really good goalies available, definitely do this. And if you're in a daily fantasy league, this helps as well. So first off, we've got Sergei Bobrovsky against the San Jose Sharks. This is a perfect bounce back opportunity for Bobrovsky. He's played some brutal hockey as of late, including the Panthers, who just, I don't know, they're kind of going to reach that bottom of the Atlantic if they don't step things up. But that being said, Bobrovsky against the Sharks is a must start. We also have the Blackhawks visiting Winnipeg. So if Hellebuck gets that start, obviously a must start against the Blackhawks. And I'll go into a bit of a sleeper pick here, but the Islanders playing the Canucks on Monday. You're going to want to start Sorokin, obviously, but then you're going to see the Isles play the Kraken and the Sabres later in the week. I would be careful with David Rittich, and that's kind of my kind of avoid of the week is, I don't know, David Rittich is inconsistent, and you have some hot teams in the Sabres and the Kraken, so don't feel like you need to make those iffy starts. Rely on your goaltenders, start them. And yeah, guys, I'm going to need some luck to win this $200 matchup this week. I made some big trades. I have had some heaters, including, Karel Vejmelka. A lot of guys on heaters, even Tyler Bertuzzi playing great hockey as of late. But going to need some luck in all of my 6 or 7 leagues that I'm in. So wish me luck. And that's it for our Week 16 preview. So have a great fantasy week, and we'll see you later.